Michaela.
Bye.
So just as we're having a changeover as well, just to let everyone know, please keep donating. Like I say, we've raised so much, which we weren't expecting. And again, it's going to the little kittens. I know it's snowy outside. We don't want cats outside in the snow. So that's the main thing. But yes, so welcome, Jules. So hi, stranger.
Hiya. How are you both doing? I'm going to move my screen so I can see you both. There we go, that's better.
I'm no bother. Sam's got over the meltdowns of earlier of having the problems, so that's all good.
Yeah, that was a bit of a trauma.
I did dial in earlier on and watch some of it, and I'd heard that you'd had the first hour of technical difficulties.
It was awful. Nothing would work, and I just kept screaming, "It's absolutely effing typical this. Every time I want to do something, technology just fails me." I was really, really going for it in the living room. I've even got like my Mac set up just in case something happens here, and my Mac is smashed to pieces, but at least I know it works.
Ancient, but yes.
Yep.
Ancient but trusty. That's what you need.
Exactly.
Could describe me in a lot of ways there, so we're not going to go there. But yes. So again, another debut on the podcast this week. So as with all of our other guests who are new, we always like to tell them a little bit about themselves and your nerdy credentials. So take it away, young lady.
Yeah, so young lady, my God. Right, so I'm Jules Sharples. I've got a small sole trader business, Spellbound, where I write poetry for greetings cards and eulogies, speeches, advertising, things like that. And I also write and illustrate rhyme and children's stories. So that is not my day job, sadly. One day maybe. But my topic today is going to be top 5 children's authors whose works have transcended the page.
Very interesting. Oh. I thought yours was going to be legacy around this.
Yeah, I knew fine well. We had an inkling of what your topic was going to be because it's you, Jules. We know what your topic's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And especially with you having a book coming out soon. So when's your book being released?
I do. Yeah, also doing this now. So small plug. So this is my book, The Curious Mouse, which you can pre-order now in time for Christmas. The book.
Where can you order that from?
Just by messaging my Spellbound page on Facebook, and cool. My number and stuff's on there.
If you can get links, if you can get links to Paul, we can try and put it on the group and that and on the Facebook. Like especially because Paul's going to cut these all down into our segments, so we could at least get the link on yours.
Oh, fantastic! That would be great. So this one I haven't illustrated myself. It's just a little A5 booklet book, and I had the help of a fantastic young lady called Macy Heselgrave.
Oh, what a name!
Yeah, it's a lovely name. But you know, me mixed it up. Macy Heselgrave, and she's an art student from Leeds, and this is the first time that she's illustrated a children's book as well. So she's done some absolutely fantastic pictures for me in here. So yeah, this is our first go at mass publishing, because usually what I do is one-off children's stories, so I only get them printed. Just large A4 landscape usually, and I do all the illustrations and then do them on the computer. So this is the first. It's fully hand illustrated. She did it in a little sketchbook, which is why we couldn't make it any bigger than this. But yeah, so if anybody wants one in time for Christmas, they're £6.
And I'm sure Jules will be nice and sign them for you as well, just for when she's famous.
We shall be signing them all. Every copy will be signed, so it's only small batch. So every copy will be signed.
Oh, cool. As me and Sam have known Jules for a long time, since our college days. Jules is one of these people that is the nicest people you'll ever meet, but you are super jealous of her because there's nothing she can't be good at. She picks up, is one of the most talented people I've ever met. You see, I thought I was a good artist till I met Jules. So
no, absolutely not. Your work's absolutely fantastic. And it's getting the time to draw is the biggest thing for me. I love doing it, but when you're out of practice and stuff, it takes forever to get back in.
Certainly. So with this topic as well, I know, like I say, the person who was on at the start, Charlotte, will probably be having an orgasm now because she is so into her stories and books and stuff. So this would be quite a good topic as well. So have you got a top 5, or have you just wanted to...
I have.
Cool.
So I was going to originally do my top 5 children's authors, but I just thought, you know what, well, I was chatting with my husband last night and totally decided to change it at the last minute. So we thought, let's do the ones that have like been so good. I think for books that have transcended the page, they either fit into one of two categories. It's either work that's so memorable that children can learn from it, or it's work that's been world building. So the Tolkiens and the Stephen Kings of the children's world. So so yes, we shall start. So I'm going to start with one of the first authors that got me into rhyme, which is Dr. Seuss. It has to be Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
So not only because his work's so fun and so easy to remember, that it's also a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have got like a really powerful message behind them. So the Lorax is one of my favourites. I absolutely love the Lorax. And I think that's very prevalent at the moment, very important at the moment with everything that's going on with the environment. But yeah, we have all of the green eggs and ham and everything like that for my little boy, and he loves reading all of the Dr. Seuss books.
One of my favourites that used to stand out for the Dr. Seuss ones was Thing 1 and Thing 2. And like I say, I remember when I went to Florida for the first time and going into was it Islands of Adventure, I believe?
Yeah.
And it's got the Dr. Seuss world. And you go around, you see the hats, you see the green eggs and ham. Like I say, even I got a Thing 1 T-shirt as well. that, like I said, it just brings back memories of your childhood as well. Reading them books, and the colours were absolutely like so stand out and jumping off the page as well.
I think I had a cup from Islands of Adventure from Dr. Seuss world, because it has I am Sam I am. Yeah. Had to have it. When you find something with your name on, when you find something with your name on it that rhymes, like I still think I have it somewhere too. And that was years. It's gotta be like nearly 15, 16 years ago. Wow. I
love the Cat and Hat and Thing 1, Thing 2. There they are. Absolutely fantastic. Daniel loves reading these stories, my little boy. He's just turned 4 and he just absolutely adores them. And I think it's the fact that they rhyme. They're so easy for kids to remember, and they help with reading, because they know that the next sentence is going to end with something that rhymed with the first sentence. He's so universally loved, and it's all the places you'll go, and like you talk about, Seussville in Universal Studios is amazing. I loved it there. So
I always like it as well, because there's a little bit of naughtiness to the stories as well. There's a bit of cheekiness to it. It's not like a straightforward, like I just said, it rhymes and stuff and it tells a story, but there's always a little bit of a naughty element. Like
didn't he hate kids? Hello?
Didn't who hate kids?
Dr. Seuss hate kids.
I heard that. I did actually hear that. I don't know.
What was the ping?
That was my other phone, even though I thought I'd put it on
that silent. Was terrifying. That I was like, something broke.
Sam terrified in case there's another technical difficulty.
I really am. I'm sure I heard that Dr. Seuss hates children, and also Roald Dahl as well hated children.
Well, you can tell with Roald Dahl. That was quite obvious.
And all the stories that Enid Blyton's not in my top 5, because I try to stick with people who are like still relevant today and have still got work to want to do, which she has a little bit, but a lot of her work's out of date now, even though I loved her as a kid. But apparently she wasn't great with kids and things like that, or she was better with other people's kids than she was with her own. But
all these children authors who hate children. It's crazy.
I don't hate children.
I was going to say, maybe I should start writing a book. I might get somewhere.
But I couldn't believe it. I've only read sort of like, considering how much I love Dr. Seuss, I haven't actually read quite a lot of his work. And he's written over 60 books. And he's just become quite controversial earlier this year, because a lot of, like all dated children's authors and any authors become, when their work starts to become a bit censored and things, and a lot of his work is of its time and then doesn't fit with today's values and views. But the four that they've decided to take out of print, I think it was 4 or 6 that they've decided to take out of print, and most of them I hadn't even heard of. So
I think he was huge in America. Yeah, he was huge in America. I think a few of these books came out over here, but not they weren't as like widespread.
No.
But in America, it's huge. Like I think any type of like kids bookstore and stuff like is plastered with them. It's interesting. Like say, I know we got a few of the movies and stuff, and like say the one of the most famous ones is The Grinch That Stole Christmas.
Now, I love the animated cartoon. That's like my go-to favorite. I will watch that over Jim Carrey's The Grinch any day, because I'm sure it's Boris Karloff's the voice of either the narrator or the Grinch. It's something like that. But I've watched it. I've got videotape in the box.
Oh, you're going to the old animation, not like the new one.
No, the old one. The old one. It was on, like, remember Toontime with Tony Robbins? It was on there, and that's where we recorded it from. And I have it on a VHS. I have a VHS player as well, so I'm going to try and get it on this Christmas and see what's on our Christmas tape. But yeah, that was it's one of my favorites. I would pick that over The Grinch with Jim Carrey any day.
I love
I've never seen The Grinch with Jim Carrey. Never watched it.
Really?
Because the reason why is because you know the bit in Home Alone where they're playing the Grinch cartoon and then Tim Burton's face comes up and does the smile.
Tim Curry, it was Home Alone 2.
Tim Curry, Tim Curry's face comes on. Well, I was already terrified of Tim Curry. And when he comes on and does that smile, it totally put us off any human version of the Grinch, and I've never watched the Jim Carrey version.
It is interesting because me nephew Ruben, he's won't watch. Well, he's okay now, but when he was younger, he would not watch the Jim Carrey thing because he found the Grinch absolutely terrifying.
I get that. He looks pretty scary. Like he's not a good-looking chap. It was Boris Karloff who did the voice of the Grinch in the 1966 version of The Grinch That Stole Christmas, and it got 100% of Rotten Tomatoes. It's crazy.
I love the song in it, like say, because I remember this, like the song that used to go with it as well. You're on Mr. Grinch.
Oh, I thought we were going new.
no, the old one, like the old one. Like say, I haven't seen the new animation one, like the CGI one that came out. I think it was a few years ago. Like I think it was the same makers that done like Horton Hears a Who and stuff like that.
Oh, isn't that with Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah, it is very good. Me and Daniel watched that last year, and it's one of the first films he's actually sat through full feature length film, because he's only just turned 3 last year. He managed to sit through nearly all of that. I think he just got bored for about 5 minutes, about 3/4 of the way through, and then he got back into it again when another song started. So yeah, I was quite pleased with that one, but still, I do need to get around watching the Jim Carrey version. But
to be fair, I even look at the Michael Myers Cat in the Hat. That one's still quite scary as well. That was an interesting film. You're not missing anything really. Like I say, it looks amazing, but it's not really a positive film, shall we say? It's quite it's just strange. I think it doesn't hit on the tones that it's looking for. And Michael Myers as the cat is a bit creepy at times, but again, a man in a cat suit, can't really say anything too much.
Especially when we're doing this for the cats.
Doing it for the cats.
I'm gonna pop out for a second. I am busting for a wee. I have been busting since Michaela came on, and it's starting to hurt now. So I'll be 2 minutes, okay?
Too much information. Just say you need a pop out. That's all we need.
Today is the day about sharing, so I will share everything. Exactly. I'll be 2 minutes.
One of the things as well, I think I would have had most like collectible stuff for Dr. Seuss, but I don't actually think I own too much of its stuff. Because I think as a kid, I got to know Dr. Seuss a little bit later on in life as well. It wasn't really something, because I know I grew up on probably one of your picks that's going to be like Roald Dahl. That was always like
two.
so could be a good segue there. So that was like my bread and butter. And I know we had a little discussion about this in the podcast about favorite 90s films when Charlotte picked James and the Giant Peach. That, like I said, Roald Dahl has a huge special place in my heart as well. So I'll let you move on to your second subject.
Number 2 was Roald Dahl. So just he was our Dr. Seuss, I guess.
He was like the British
Dr.
version.
Seuss was big. I mean, for all Dr. Seuss's stuff was more rhyming and more colourful. I
Mhm.
think Roald Dahl had the darker side of things, and it was more it was the gruesome stuff that got Roald Dahl stuff was the things that opened up all of the work of horrible histories and all of the stuff that we got that came out of that
afterwards. Yeah, it was very British as well, though, the British sense of humour to it as well. I think that was like the aspects I always get from it, especially because I've got memories of sitting with my grandfather and like reading the stories from these, like my biggest and favourite ones, and I hope they'll always do bring out a film of it. There's the Twits. I don't know how it would work these days, but I read that book front and cover so many times over and over, to the point where the book was falling apart. But the Twits, and like the whole the big parrots that used to like trick them and find different ways to treat them and stuff, that was absolutely brilliant. But I don't think there's many like say Roald Dahl books now that hasn't been transferred to screen, because most of them have. Like we've got Fantastic Mr. Fox, the BFG, like say the two versions. Sorry, Sam, we're talking about Roald Dahl now. You're looking confused.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm kind of glad I missed it a little bit, because I'm not his biggest fan.
I know.
Are you not? Oh, I wish they would bring to screen the two of my favourites that I love that they still haven't brought, is the Magic Finger and George's Marvelous Medicine.
I remember the Magic Finger from being a kid.
Yeah, and I think they'd both be absolutely fantastic. But Matilda is definitely a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
Like the first time I read Matilda, I was quite small, and I do remember trying the pencil thing. Just trying to move stuff with my mind and trying to get.
So like we're doing the Jenny mind trick, you're doing the Matilda things.
Yeah.
But I absolutely adored Matilda. And yes, the Twits. And I think one of the biggest things that sticks out from the Twits is, you know, how horrible people were. And that one line that was, if you have nice thoughts, they'll shine out of your face and you'll always look lovely. And I think that's one that my nana used to say with us when we were. I think I must have first read the Twits with my nana. And she liked that line, and we used to say that. We always used to say, if you have bad thoughts, you'll be an ugly, you'll like look like an ugly person. But if you have nice things, it doesn't matter. You can be the ugliest person in the world.
It explains this then.
You're beautiful, Sam. You're gorgeous.
Oh, you're too kind.
But good shout with George's magical medicine. I hope they don't make that the only reason. I love the Rick Mail version. I think I shared a post on it as well to the Jack and Ori on the Facebook page. I love his take on it and the expressions, and I don't think you could make it now without Rick Mail being in your mind.
Yeah. Charlotte has exploded in the comments, by the way. She's like, Charlotte is like loving this at the moment.
I'm surprised Charlotte hasn't joined us just for this hour.
To be fair, she's got the code. If she wanted to, she could jump on.
So get herself on, jump on. But I mean, again, and Roald Dahl, another controversial one. So there's been some controversy with his work and the fact that, you know, anti-Semitism in the work, and that, you know, he's characters, the antagonistic characters, being depicted as dark and long noses, and, you know, coming from Jewish heritage, sometimes I think that's a bit more insulting to Jews than it is anything else.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one as well, especially like say with the time when you go back to some of the old Disney films as well, like
oh god.
How they're looking to change, like Childcatcher, like look at Dumbo, the taking out the crows and having the Peter Pan,
which I never saw. I was so naive. I never saw any of the racism that was in Peter Pan until it was pointed out to us, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. But aren't you going to find that now, like as in the age that we are going to find that things that we loved as children aren't going to be loved when we're in our 40s. You know what I mean?
And I think a lot of it's open to interpretation as well. I mean, antagonistic characters have been depicted like that for centuries. We're not talking just, you know, in the last 100 years, 200 years sort of thing. You know, you're talking way back. So it's a lot of stuff's going to be problematic
Oh, 100%.
in
Look at
coming
again
years, but
going back to the Disney thing. We'll never see probably Songs of the South.
Oh my
shown
God,
on Disney
no.
Plus or
No.
anything like that. But again, and they are changing the ride as well from Splash Mountain. It's going to be to do with rather than Brer Rabbit. It's going to be about the Princess and the Frog.
I think that's more of the treatment of the actor as well at the time. Not, I mean, yes, the actual film.
The tones in it, like
the
cotton picking and
treatment,
stuff, it's horrible.
But the treatment of the main guy as well was absolutely diabolical. I am so comfy here, by the way. I think I made a good choice moving in this room. I've got my feet up. I've got my blanket on. I'm so comfy. And we're talking about children's books. Like, I'm so comfy. Hey,
I was going to go and sit on the couch, and I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered to plug in the printer, and I've prepped all of my stuff on the computer, and I'm just much more comfortable here.
That's what my feet are currently on at the moment, is a printer.
Luke's just put ours on casters so I can roll it about. So you'd think it was much easier to just roll in and plug in and sort out, but still can't be bothered. So,
right, we've got a little bit of a surprise here, it looks like.
Oh, it's Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Oh, hey.
There she is.
Hi.
I feel like I'm gate crashing.
I feel like I'm gate crashing because I've had my hour.
Doesn't matter.
That's right. I'm just going to nip out, so I'll let you continue there, so you can take over for a second.
The little boy's room.
Bless him, he's been sat there since bloody 10 o'clock dealing with all the shite. He really has. Like, we logged in at 9:30, and then everything just went, for me, like, big style. But I'm so comfy. I've got my blankie. I've got my husband's comfy chair over the moon here. Come on, Julie, we'll move on to your next one while he's gone.
Next one is, this is going to be controversial for nerdy up north, by the way, because some of them don't like her. J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
It had to be J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter. But you can't mention things that have transcended the page without talking about Harry Potter.
No, you cannot at all. Like, we can't. You can have your opinion on her. You can, and that's your opinion, and that's totally valid. It's fine. She created history in them books to that movie. It is absolutely magical. We actually have an episode all about Harry Potter coming up in December. At the moment, I am riding high on the Harry Potter train. I went to Edinburgh with Carolyn Craggs.
Yeah.
We went to Edinburgh and we did the whole, it was literally, it didn't meant to be that way, but it turned into a whole Harry Potter experience. Like, I've got my Slytherin blanket, my Slytherin cup. I went and did the Sorting Hat the other day and got put in Gryffindor. I was absolutely raging.
Did you? That happened to me. You know, I've been a proud Hufflepuff for many, many years, and then I did that was for the first Sorting Hat, and then it booted us out. The Pottermore app booted us out, and when I logged back in and did it again, I got Gryffindor, and I took it again. I actually logged out. I was like, I am not, and I got Hufflepuff again. So I just think it was a glitch.
But honestly, I was forming Anthos and all because he got Slytherin and he is like a proud Hufflepuff. Like, when on our fridge we have a Slytherin badge, like a big Slytherin magnet, and then we have a Hufflepuff one as well. Harry Potter's such a you can't not. You really can't.
We've talked about it in the group before. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
we've talked about it in the group before, but I think when it comes to Harry Potter, it's one of those ones where you have to separate how you feel about the author to how you feel about the franchise, because the Harry Potter world is so much bigger than her now. It stands for so much more.
I totally agree with you.
I agree. I just think and this time of year is the right time to talk about it as well, because there's the transition between Halloween and Christmas is when I always try and watch all of the movies. I think that is a tradition in a lot of people's houses. I don't think that's
definitely
just
but this is the time it came out. The first film came out between the transition between Halloween and Christmas, and then I always associated with a Christmas film because I took my sister on her first ever date with a boy to go and see the first Harry Potter film. So glad she's not here right now.
I was talking about this to a couple of colleagues the other week as well, and we were talking about this time between Christmas and New Year and what music immediately makes you get excited for Christmas. And the two top pieces of music that everyone said was originally, it used to be the X Factor theme tune and the Harry Potter theme tune were the two pieces of music that, like, UK wide, once you start hearing them, they're the things that instinctively get you ramped for Christmas, like in that mood. And I was like, actually, I think you're right.
It's actually
especially
oh, go on, sorry, Charlotte.
Especially this year, because it's like the 20th anniversary of the first film.
Yeah.
So they're all playing that, like they're all playing at the cinemas.
Yeah.
The music's everywhere.
I think
Didn't you go and see it, Charlotte?
I saw the first one a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Was it as magical as the first time you saw it?
It was amazing, absolutely amazing, because I've never seen the first one on the big screen.
Oh,
so it was the first time I'd seen it.
Well, I've actually asked my
I remember when I first saw the
Christmas.
first one. Sorry, the first one I saw that Harry Potter was on a pirated VHS.
Me too.
Oh no, I went to the cinema. No, I actually asked my sister for them for Christmas, the books. I want to read the books. I think I've read the first two, and then completely lost off. Well, I'm not a great reader of fiction, but I have just finished A Clash of Kings in Game of Thrones. I'm so proud of myself. It's taken us forever, but I got there. Biographies, I can read like that. Honestly, put a biography in front of us, I can have it read in a couple of days. Give us a crime book, a book on death, done. Give us a fiction book, it takes me years.
I'm the opposite. It takes me ages to get through ones that are facts, like just can't, and then ones that are fiction. Once I've started, I can't stop. But I'm like that with TV shows, which is why Netflix is deadly to me, because if I start a series, I then just have to. I can't watch anything else. I'm just constantly watching that until the series is over, and I can't watch things that have got cliffhangers. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the best thing about streaming now. Like you've got a full series that like it's just get through it. But no, I'm so proud of myself that I have read a fiction book and I managed to keep up with it. And not just that, managed to retain the information as well. Because I'm really bad at it. I have to watch things. Well, I have to watch things 100 times in order to remember what had happened, which is why I watch the same thing over and over again. And I thought I'd be the same with books, but no, I've actually retained this information right up there. So I'm going to try to do Harry Potter books.
With the Harry Potter ones as well, and like I pretty much know the answer to Sam's. Were you introduced to the books first or the films?
Mine was the books. So someone bought my little brother the first box set.
Right.
So I think it was the first 4 books. I've got them on the bookshelf just over there. And I stole them from him. So I must have been it was the year when it had just been released. It was just about to get released, the first film. So I must have been 16, 17. And I stole this box set of books from him because I knew he would never read them. And I ended up reading them and I was totally addicted. So when that first film came out, I'd just finished reading all of these books and it was just absolutely marvelous. So 37 going on 38 now and 20 years later, and that was probably 21 years ago that I was first introduced to them, and I just read those first 4 really quickly and I was itching. I was like, Mum, I know these are Peter's books, but can I please have the next one for my birthday? And then that was it. It just became a thing until she finished the series. Yeah.
How different is the children's version? Because I got introduced to Harry Potter through Michaela. Michaela had the first book when I don't know when it first came out or around that time. Is the children's book very, very different from the adult book, or is it just more dumbed down in the children's book?
No, it's the book hasn't changed. It's the same information.
The same. It's just the covers.
Is that
it? Yeah.
So bloody hell! I'm asking my sister to buy me all the series for nearly £20 more than what I could if it was just a children's version.
Yeah, it's just a posher cover.
Oh, yeah.
But like I say, it's interesting because, like as you say, with the books, being an adult tone, the first 3 books are quite childlike in tone and quite playful, and as the books getting bigger and bigger, more adult theme comes in, because the kids are getting older, so it does kind of grow up that aspect. But I can still remember now. I unfortunately didn't get introduced to books till I saw the first Harry Potter film. But as soon as I did, I can't, like say, I love fantasy and all that. And it was my dad who got the books rather than me, and he read them first. And my dad's not the greatest reader. He doesn't like reading. He likes films and stuff. So I picked them up, and I stopped watching the films till I read the books, because the books were so much better than like the characters in the books. I still annoyed that we didn't get the ghost properly. What was it called? Jeeves. That was the one. Peeves.
Spoilers. Come on, I've read them yet.
He's just more he's just a bit of an entertaining thing. But what about you, Charlotte? Was it the books or the film for you?
It was kind of a bit of both. I must have been about year 6 when the books came out, and everybody was like uber hyping them, like they're amazing, you've got to read them. And I tried reading the first book, and I just couldn't get into it. And it wasn't until I saw the first film when I was about 12 that I then went back and read the books. So I just kind of read all the books, and then the films sort of followed. So it's kind of a bit of both.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it too much. Sorry. Yeah.
I fell in love with the books, but it was the films that then brought it to life, because I think they did such a good job of creating that world and all of the. For me, it was all. That's why I was so excited to go down to the Harry Potter studios and see how they did it all, because it was all of the. It wasn't necessarily the characters; it was the world building that they did, and all of the staging and everything was just really brought it to life for me, and I loved it.
I loved aspects as well that they used elements that was close to us, like Durham Cathedral and stuff like that. Places where we can actually go and touch and see where the films were made. That brought it home to us and made it a little bit more special. But I'm trying to be careful not to talk too much about Harry Potter, because we're doing a whole episode on it coming up. Otherwise, we're just going to say, "Yay!"
No, but I think you are right to bring it up though, Jules. It could not be in this list.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll swiftly move on to our next one. Which
I was going to say, money-wise, it's probably one of the most money we've made.
I know. I knew who was going to be my number 5, but so I struggled for number 4, and I had 2 authors vying for number 4. And it was, I've gone with A.A. Milne for Winnie the Pooh.
So look at all of us at the same time.
The other author that was vying for this spot was Beatrix Potter with the Peter Rabbits. And I just couldn't make up my mind. And then, if I'd been able to do more than one, we would have then gone with C.S. Lewis for Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, of course.
You just named 3 of my favourites.
You'll agree with my number 5, I hope. Because I am. But yeah, so just decided to go with A.A. Milne, just because with Disney picking it up and how big it became once. They created that whole world and all the songs and everything else that came out of it, and just who doesn't love Winnie the Pooh? Just that whole getting back to your childhood. And my husband said last night when we were discussing changing my topic, and he just said that's what Nerdy Up North's all about. It's about a group of people that basically gone back to the things that they loved as a kid. And we've made a massive community out of it, and just Winnie the Pooh is just
that community
epitome of that. That's what the books are all about, keeping your childhood close.
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever seen the most recent TV show that they've done of Winnie the Pooh? And it's got a song at the end all about friendship. It's the one song that can make my husband cry like that.
Oh,
because of how beautiful it is. And he was like, it just totally sums up how everyone should be. And he loves it, but it can bring him into tears in a few seconds. I do recommend to watch it. Just the song.
I love the way the characters work in Winnie the Pooh, and how they've each got their very distinct personalities, and then you've got Eeyore. It's just it's just this,
and everyone knows an Eeyore. Everyone's got a friend who's an Eeyore as well. That's the thing.
Sometimes I flip between being an Eeyore and being a Tigger, because I'm either absolutely hyper and like this, or I'm no, not again. And it's just like none of his friends ever comment on the fact that he's this miserable donkey.
The manic depressing donkey, and nobody.
They just love him anyway.
But they always include him.
Yeah.
They never leave him out.
Well, that's the thing with like even like the most annoying character in the world, Tigger. You would only want to spend 10 minutes a day with him, otherwise you'll be taking a baseball bat to the back of his head. But
I love his song though.
Yeah, the wonderful thing about Tigger's the wonderful thing.
He's bouncy made out of rubber, and his bottom is made out of spring. He's bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. The wonderful thing about Tigger is, I'm the only one.
The only one.
Thank you.
The only one.
I used to be able to do that in Tigger's voice when I was small.
Well, you challenge yourself.
I'm not going to do it.
The finger came out there. I was like, no.
One
of my. You're a mum.
One of my favorite childhood memories actually is, I think we've still got it. It's like a big annual of all of sort of A.A. Milne's poems and songs that are Winnie the Pooh. My dad used to read them to her before we used to go to bed, and you always used to remember John's got a great big waterproof coat and Halfway Up the Stairs. They're the two that we used to always remember, and we used to like have them memorized as kids.
Oh, I always liked, which one is it? The Little Black Rain Cloud. You know, when he's trying to get into the honey tree and he's love that song. Just that whole episode, and when that's the same episode that Rabbit gets stuck in the, and they're trying to pull Rabbit out of the rabbit hole, aren't they? Yeah. Pooh gets stuck in the
Pooh gets stuck in the rabbit hole.
Pooh gets stuck in the rabbit hole. Sorry.
I have these.
Oh yeah.
So they're so look at the dust on them, man. They are so old. They used to be like a sleeve around them. I think me and Michaela have had them since we were, oh my god, absolute dots. It's probably got writing and all sorts in it. Most likely, but yeah, these are the only thing I have of Winnie the Pooh. But I used to have a massive obsession with Eeyore in like my early 20s. Like everything was Eeyore, my mugs, my teddies. I was 20. And then I just fell out of love with the manic depressing donkey.
I was like that with Tigger. I had loads of Tigger stuff for a while. I was probably about 20 some. Yeah.
God, you can tell we come from the same place. Like
it's a phase of our era. It must be.
I used to love drawing Winnie the Pooh when I was younger. That was one of the things I used to always revert back to. Be Winnie the Pooh. I used to draw, or for some reason I always go to the Simpsons. But like I say, there's something magical about him. Like I always wanted to be Christopher Robin as well. Like I say, the boy who had these magical friends, who would go to, like I say, the woods and see them. Like, but as you said, there's Owl, there's like Roo and his mother, even Grumpy Rabbit. And like poor Piglet, blessed Piglet was like the most adorablest thing you'll ever meet. Oh. But yeah, I even watched like Ewan McGregor one, Christopher Robin, not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
I really enjoyed it as well. It brought a little bit of the magic back. But I think there's a special place for Winnie the Pooh, especially for any generation, not just our generation. I think there's a lot of messages, and as you said, there's a lot of controversial figures and stuff with other authors and stories. I don't think you'll ever get that with Winnie the Pooh. It's pure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a childhood innocence that'll never go away. And I even talked about before, it actually made us tear up a little bit. Just thinking about it, because like as you said, the Nerdy Up North community is all about that. And to bring that aspect into it means quite a lot. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome, you big softie.
Yeah.
Do you know who I heard when you said that? I could hear Emma coming out of you.
Excuse me? She's not away me here.
Also, the way she said it sounded like Emma. I was like,
the way that I said it.
Yeah.
The way that I said you big softie.
Sounded like something Emma would say.
Emma would punch us all over.
It's because during that generation of Pooh, we all spent far too much time with each other. Probably.
Very much so. Very much so.
So number 5 is, and I hope you all love her as much as I do, and I hope you all know our work as much as I do, is Julia Donaldson. Who?
Silence.
Since it's Christmas.
Harry McClary.
No, Julia
No?
Donaldson wrote The Gruffalo. The
Oh, of
Gruffalo's Child,
course.
The Highway Rat, Zog, Stickman, Snail and the Whale. So I couldn't let my top 5 finish since it's so close to Christmas without giving an mention, because I love Julia Donaldson and I love Axel Scheffler, who she uses for most of our illustrations. And when she had her work picked up by BBC and Magic Light Pictures to do the Christmas specials, I just feel like that brought, because of me now having all of my nieces and nephews and Daniel and everything, it's just brought a new tradition that we haven't had since we were kids in the 80s with the snowman and Father Christmas, because you'd have that every Christmas, and now the new Julia Donaldson cartoon is the new Christmas tradition that we look forward to on Christmas Day. And this year it's going to be Superworm, which is a good bit. It's not one of my favourites, but it is. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that one, and because they always make, because the book is quite short. I mean, this is one of the this is my favourite Julia Donaldson, by the way. And they are quite small, but then what they do with the story is narrated exactly as it reads in the book, but then they make it last half an hour by all of the stuff, the imagery that they do in the background, and they build a world around it, so they just give it so much more context, and it's so fun to watch and to see what they do with it every year, to see how they translate it from the book to the screen is just magical. So if you haven't had the pleasure of watching them, a lot of them are available on YouTube, and there's some on the BBC website you can download and things, but definitely look at them. But this is my favourite Julia Donaldson. It's called The Smeds and the Smooths. And if you like Dr. Seuss, this one, when I first read it, I absolutely adored it, because it reminded us of Dr. Seuss's Butter Battle book. And do you remember the Butter Battle book with the Ukes and the Zooks? One like their bread butter side up, and the bread butter side down. Well, this is basically, you've got the Smeds and the Smooths, which are the Reds and the Blues, and it's a very, very similar story, but it has a different message. So while Seuss's message was like very much anti-war, this one's more about skin colour.
Right.
I'll not tell you what the ending is if you haven't read it, so read it. It's very, very good.
I love the fact that you got through that and said all them tongue twistery words.
Oh, hey, I'm a seasoned pro, me. I've got Fox in Socks here, and that is the biggest Daniel is actually so good at tongue twisters. If like for a kid that's just learning to read, he's amazing at reading this. And I just Sue Socks. Who saw Sue Socks? That was it. I'm just but yeah, if you haven't had the pleasure of Julia Donaldson's work, get yourself on the BBC website. And
I've heard of the Gruffalo, and like say, my niece and nephew were obsessed with the Gruffalo. So that then, but again, I know they do the big BBC one specials for them, like from years gone by. Like Stickman was last year's, I believe, or was it the year before?
No, it was the year. It was Snail and the Whale last year. Snail and the Whale, I think, was last year.
Right.
No, it was Zog. It was the second Zog last year. Snail and the Whale was the year before, so it would have been Stickman the year before that. She's done tons.
Yeah, with COVID happening, like each year's is blending into one now, so that's my part. But yeah, I'm not familiar with the name. That was what I felt a bit bad there, but like I say, great pick. I can understand why, especially with you having the little one as well. If I was going to pick not a top 5, but the ones I would probably pick, that I know you mentioned to say S. Lewis. My wife is a huge, like I said, Narnia fan, so she would go crazy for that. But to me, one of the ones I would have probably mentioned, I know Charlotte will agree with it. He totally got a little cat there next to us with the name Lewis Carroll. Alice in Wonderland.
Absolutely obsessed.
That world that was built with that was, like I say, everything. Like I say, I loved was introduced to the Disney cartoon when I was a kid, and like everything just blew us away with, which you'll probably find out in my top 5 Disney picks in a week's time. Like I said, this, like even reading the Lewis Carroll stuff, and like I said, that meant quite a lot. So probably I know Charlotte will probably agree with us with that one.
Absolutely. Alice in Wonderland is my favourite book of all time. I've still got the first ever copy of Alice in Wonderland that my grandparents gave us that got us into Alice in Wonderland. And I love the Disney film, but I don't love the Disney film because it's Disney. I love the Disney film because it's Alice in Wonderland, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it wasn't the quintessential Disney film, shall we say, when it came out.
Yeah, like everything is Alice in Wonderland. Literally everything is Alice in Wonderland. There's just sitting there in a Cheshire Cat blanket.
I noticed that. Well, the first time I actually read Alice in Wonderland, it scared me because the illustrations in the original version that I had, the baby, you know, when they can't stop the baby crying, and there was an illustration of that first book of the woman who can't stop the baby crying, and that picture was quite scary, and it really terrified me. And Tweedledum and Tweedledee were quite creepy in the first book as well.
I think is that the Tenniel illustrations, the original ones?
I think it was
something Tenniel. Yeah, some of them are really, really creepy. Like when she's holding the pig, that was really, really creepy.
Yeah.
And the queen herself is quite.
Oh, she was terrifying even in the Disney film.
It's so funny. I love Alice in Wonderland. I have 2 leg sleeves on each side of my leg. One of them is the caterpillar when he goes, "Who are you?" It's actually the words in blue smoke with "Who are you?" on me right leg, and then on my left leg is an unfinished piece that's been unfinished since 2013. That was so I've got all the outline done. I just need the rest of it all coloured in, but that's a massive Alice in Wonderland one. But childhood wise, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe was massive in my house. It was, I think I still have the book that my mum read to us. It's that one, Words Have Gone, but because it was that book, that was the book she read. I don't think we ever got rid of it. But I'm going to have to bring it back to one of my favorite writers of all time, because technically one of his books is a children's book, which was Tolkien, because The Hobbit was classed as a children's book. And Tolkien is one of the most amazing minds to create a universe the way that he did. So
absolutely. I didn't know that The Hobbit was originally written as a children's book.
It was a children's book, obviously it progressed, and then Lord of the Rings came out, and the summer I can never say it properly. Silmarillion? Am I saying that right? That was finished by his son. He never really finished that book, but the work that goes into these 3 books to create these worlds, these languages, and not just that, he did it with The Hobbit as well. He's still hands down my fave. I wish I had me Tolkien jump right now while you were here.
I mean, sorry. If we're talking about creating worlds, Terry Pratchett.
See, I'm not the biggest of fans because he for some reason reminds me so much of Clive Barker. I don't know why. I just get this, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's very Clive Barker to me is very confusing, and Terry Pratchett can be very confusing. And I kind of and they use turtles a lot. So
I probably wouldn't I can't read words. I know that's totally thrown me. The Clive Barker comment.
My sister's just texted. I'm really sorry to interrupt, but my sister's just texted. She has the book.
All right.
Oh, she's the book that you talked about earlier on. Yeah, I've got those.
Yeah.
I've got those. Yeah, I've got all the originals of those.
Yeah, but probably the Terry Pratchett ones weren't. I wouldn't say they were childlike, but they were quite adult and themed. And I know they had the element, but if you're going to go along the line of world creating, there's not going to be beaten by this one. Sorry, the Frank Bauer, the Wizard of Oz. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But then again, if we're getting into adult world building, we've got Neil Gaiman. We've got
yes. Let's start the hour again and talk about. Let's talk about Neil Gaiman for a full hour. I'm happy.
To be fair, Neil Gaiman's done kids' books.
Yeah,
Coraline, the Graveyard Book.
He has transcended literature and nobody else. His children's books, his own work. He wrote for comics. I have Marvel 1960, 64, something like that he wrote.
The Eternals.
The Sandman.
Yes, Sandman.
He did the Eternals, Sandman.
The man is a genius.
We need a Neil Gaiman episode.
I just did his masterclass
Get
earlier
that on the
this
list,
year.
Charlotte.
He's marvellous. So yeah, if I was going to go with older stuff, he would have been top of my list for the next stage up, where I've kind of gone for younger.
Yeah.
I went for younger kids, like sort of primary age. But yes, Neil Gaiman would have been, if I'd gone that next niche up, Neil Gaiman would have been number one, because I love him.
I think that's an episode I need to have, a Neil Gaiman one. Again, I can wax lyrical about American Gods. Not the TV show, the book. The book was absolutely beautiful. Neverwhere, absolutely stunning. Even like the TV show, Neverwhere, when it came out, I know he wasn't happy with it. That's why he wrote Neverwhere on the back of it. It was crazy that him and Lenny Henry was involved with that as well. But again, I'm going crazy now because I'm.
he's wrote episodes for Doctor Who. The man is just there's no end to his talent.
He's a nice guy as well, though.
Is he? He's amazing.
No, he's one of these people that when
listen
you
to
think,
talk for hours.
He got himself a bit in trouble last year because he's married to Amanda Palmer, who was my sister's favorite singer. And they were in New Zealand, and he upped sticks and broke COVID rules and left her on her own with his child. So. Just shout just a little bit.
To be fair, if we're going to go there, he didn't go and test his eyesight to drive to.
That is very true. That is very true.
Oh, that's bordering on politics.
No, he did go back though in the end. So there you go. Did have a happy end, and he went back.
Yeah,
Bringing
it. I'll stick up for Neil Gaiman any which way I can.
Yeah, bringing it back. I couldn't not mention the Mr. Men and Little Miss books.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Everybody knows them. They're still going.
Yeah.
They're just such they're just the best bit of silly fun as a kid.
Joy. Yeah.
Like,
so who was your favourite Mr. Man or Mr. Woman?
My favourite Mr. Men was Mr. Bump. And my favourite Little Miss was Little Miss Magic.
Cool. Jules, sorry.
I don't think I have one. I think the reason I could relate to the Mr. Men and the Little Miss books was because I felt like I was a little bit of all of them, and that it was okay to be all of them. And
that's such a good answer. Like so diplomatic.
I was very if there'd been a Little Miss Bump, that would have definitely been me, because I was the clumsiest kid.
Yeah, bless you. I remember you always bumping your head all the time, bless you.
Is there a Little Miss Cynical? Because that would definitely be something that I could relate to, because I always manage to bring the tone down in some awful way. So that would be
we'll give you a Little Miss Chatterbox. I think there was a Little Miss Chatterbox.
Chatterbox, yeah.
Little Miss Trouble.
Miss Trouble. I used to love Mr. Tickle. I used to have a Mr. Little Tickle teddy bear as well. He had big long arms and stuff.
I used to hate being tickled. Mr. Tickle probably would be my least favourite character, because honestly, I would have. Honestly, tickling me growing up was just like the worst thing you could possibly do, unless you want to kick it in the face.
100% with you on that one.
Awful.
I didn't do that during college.
Glad you didn't tickle it, otherwise you would have ended up with a kick in the face.
Cool.
So what? Pick a book. What top number one book that sticks out for you from your childhood that we haven't mentioned? At the hour or so.
Oliver. Charles Dickens.
Jacqueline Wilson. Not necessarily just a book, but her Bed and Breakfast Star and the Lottie Project, because obviously my name is Charlotte. So yeah.
Can you remember talking about Jacqueline Wilson? There was a book that I cannot find that I read when I was younger. It was definitely Jacqueline Wilson, because I remember the illustrations. It was about a little girl whose school, she went to the wrong school and she got mistaken for a teacher, and she was meant to go to a school on Park Parkview Road, and she went to the school on View Park Road.
Oh,
and
yes. I can't remember the name of it.
Anywhere. I can't remember the name of it, and because of that, I've looked at lists and lists of Jacqueline Wilson books, and I can't find it, and I really wanted to get it for my niece. And
I can't remember the name of it.
And I'm so pleased someone else recognises it. Well, I've had the conversation. If you remember the name of it, Charlotte, this message.
I'm searching it now.
Because I can't find it anywhere. What about you, Sam?
I was literally trying to find the name of a book that I read to my mum as a kid, and I can't think of it. It's called it's either the Solitaire Diary or the Solitaire Mystery, and it was all about philosophy. And as a young child, trying to understand that was difficult, but it was just a philosophy of mankind, and it was a lovely. I remember it well, and I remember why I had to read it. But nah. I mean, I used to have books of poems, and I always remember one about Hungry Horace, who ended up eating himself. But it was funny.
I don't remember that one.
I do have them somewhere as well. My sister's probably going to text us with the actual books, but no, the only one that really always stood out is the line, and I know we mentioned it, was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
I think I was.
I remember.
I remember with that one. I remember loving watching, reading the book, watching the cartoon, then watching the BBC dramatization as well.
One. Yeah. Oh, that was magical. I wanted to be that ice queen so badly.
Not many people do like to see themselves as the villain, but if you want to go that place, I'm not going
always
to.
They always looked fabulous, and she did as well. And she had Turkish Delight, and I loved Turkish Delight, so I was like, oh yeah. That's where I want to be.
Turkish Delight. She would never have gotten me on that sleigh.
and the creepy Mr. Timbless. That was always a bit.
Yeah, Mr. Tumnus. Tumnus.
Although
Tumnus was creepy.
Going down the whole ice cream route, Hans Christian Andersen and the Snow Queen and Thumbelina and Tom Thumb and
I had other topics, so if I hadn't got to this topic, I was going to go for the darker side of children's literature and then come off Roald Dahl's gruesome stuff in Hans Christian Andersen, and then all the Lewis Carroll Alice in Wonderland stuff and the Brothers Grimm and stuff like that. And did you know that Roald Dahl wrote the gruesome versions of all the fairy stories? And like
Revolting Rhymes, Rhymes, and what was the other one?
That's what you were shouting in the comments. When
you were talking about poems, I was like, oh my god, Revolting Rhymes, because in Cinderella, the prince chops the ugly sister's heads off and stuff. It's horrible, but it's brilliant.
It was horribly brilliant. And then I was going to talk off the back of that and Roald Dahl's gruesomeness. I was going to talk about like new celebrity authors and David Walliams stuff and all of that stuff. But did any of you have a copy of Please Mrs. Butler by Alan and Janet Alberg?
No.
That was a brilliant poetry book that came out in the 90s when we'll have all been like around the age to appreciate it. And it was just it was like a satire on school, just being at school, and all of the poems were just about daft poems about what it was like to be at school, like Dog in the Playground and
oh my god, best years ever, Charles,
like stuff. And it brings back so many memories of growing up and get an opportunity to have I've got a copy of it. I bought it just recently because I remembered it and I was like, I need a copy of this book. And it is marvelous. So
can you can you remember the books we used to get in comprehensive that had, oh my gosh, what they were like, they were for literature, English literature, and it had poems and books and short stories in. What was it called? It was like a
poem anthology.
Yeah.
There was the orange. It was orange.
Has one of my favorite short stories in there about a woman who murders her husband with a leg of lamb and then cuts the leg of lamb and gives it to the policeman who were investigating her husband's death. I love that story so much, and it was in that book.
I remember that.
I'm gonna have to wrap up this hour. It's flew by.
Anything you want to add? That, Jules.
Anything you want to add before we add the chaos that is going to be Kelly?
Buy Jules' book.
Yes, buy Jules' book.
Buy my book.
Join Charlotte's book club.
Join the book club.
Right, ladies, I'll bring Kelly in. So again,
I'm going to leave. Thank you very much for letting me gate crash.
no problem.
It's nice to see you, Charlotte.
You too. I couldn't not come and say something.
You couldn't.
Right, I shall see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Is Kelly joining us? Ah, there
she is.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh, do this shiz.
Bless you. So again, thank you so much, Julie, for Jules. Sorry, I will call you Julie. Jules, for coming
I know.
on.
I think I called you Julie a few times as well.
That's absolutely fine. I love yous and leave yous. Thank you very much for having me, and take care, everyone. And donate if anyone's watching. Donate to the lovely little kitties. And I forgot to mention, I did write a book, a children's book for a child that had a cat from Willow's cat adoption centre, and it was called Scaredy Tad, and it was about a cat that had been was very scared, and that how he'd come into the home and settled down and everything like that. And it was a lovely story to write, so it does mean something to me as well, even though I'm allergic to cats. I do love them, and I have actually written the story about one. So anyway, donate everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Bye. Hello there, Trouble.
Voice is running out yet?
Oh, I'm all right. A bit tired.
I'm just munching on Maltesers.
I had one bathroom break, so it's not been too bad.